Every time I hugged her, my stepdaughter would scream in terror. My husband would instantly berate me, accusing me of child abuse in front of our housekeeper. Suspicious, I secretly installed a tiny camera in their rooms when the house was empty. When I watched the footage that evening, my knees went weak. But before the story begins, please leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. The scent of sizzling bacon filled the gleaming, white-on-white gourmet kitchen. The clock on the wall had just struck 5 a.m., but Eliza was already busy, an apron tied neatly around her waist. 3 months into her marriage with Ethan, Eliza was determined to be the perfect wife and stepmother. She knew her position wasn't easy, replacing the biological mother of Lily. The quiet, 5-year-old girl was the greatest challenge of her life. Eliza arranged pancakes shaped like a teddy bear on a small pink plate, using sausage links for ears. She smiled, satisfied. She hoped this morning Lily would eat her cooking without a prolonged battle of wills. "Smells incredible, honey." A deep voice spoke from behind her. Eliza turned to find Ethan, already dressed in a crisp work shirt. Her husband was undeniably handsome, with a strong jaw and a commanding presence. The kind of man who made any woman feel protected. Eliza felt lucky. Ethan was a wealthy, established widower who, as far as she could tell, loved her deeply. "This is for Lily. She mentioned wanting pancakes yesterday," Eliza replied, untying her apron. She stepped closer, straightening the slightly crooked collar of Ethan's shirt. "Want your coffee now?" Ethan nodded, but his eyes were glued to his phone. A few client emails came in. "Could you make it a strong one, Mrs. Hayes?" he said. Eliza flinched slightly. The formal use of her new last name felt stiff, as if he were speaking to a colleague, not his wife. But she quickly dismissed the feeling. Maybe Ethan was just trying to get Lily used to calling her by a maternal title. So far, the little girl refused to call her mom. Soon, the soft patter of small feet sounded on the grand staircase. Lily appeared in her slightly too large kindergarten uniform, her pigtails messy. "Good morning, Lily, sweetie," Eliza chirped, her tone intentionally bright to coax some enthusiasm out of the child. Lily froze at the bottom of the stairs. The little girl's face was pale. Her large, round eyes darted from Eliza to her father, who was now seated at the dining table. There was no smile, no greeting in return. Lily walked with her head down, her shoulders hunched as if navigating a hallway full of ghosts, and sat in the chair farthest from Eliza. "Come here, let Mommy fix your hair." "It's all messy," Eliza said gently, reaching out to touch one of the pigtails. "Don't!" Lily shrieked, a choked sound. Her small body jerked back so violently that her chair scraped loudly against the marble floor. Eliza's hand froze in mid-air, her heart sinking. The reaction was so extreme, she just wanted to fix her hair, not hit her. The dining room fell silent, the only sound the clinking of Ethan's spoon against his coffee mug. He put down his phone, his gaze on Eliza unreadable, flat, yet piercing. "Eliza," Ethan said slowly, "I've told you not to be so forceful." "You startled her." "I was just trying to fix her hair, Ethan. I meant nothing by it," Eliza defended herself, her voice trembling. She pulled her hand back, clenching her fists under the table. "I'm sorry, Lily. I didn't mean to scare you." Lily didn't answer. She stared down at the teddy bear pancake on her plate, her small hand trembling as she picked up her fork. Eliza saw the tremor. Why was she shaking? Was she really that monstrous in her stepdaughter's eyes? Breakfast proceeded in an agonizing silence. Eliza tried to eat, but the food felt like gravel in her mouth. She glanced at Ethan, hoping he might lighten the mood, but he was already engrossed in his phone again, as if the little drama had never happened. Time passed, and it was time to leave for school. Eliza walked them to the front porch. The morning routine that should have been warm hugs and kisses was always the most awkward moment of the day. "Lily, I packed your lunchbox," Eliza said, squatting to be at eye level with the little girl. Lily stood stiffly beside her father's car. Her eyes darted nervously between Eliza's face and Ethan's, who stood tall behind her. "Say goodbye to your mother," Ethan commanded. His voice was calm, but it held an undertone that made the hairs on Eliza's neck stand up. Lily took a hesitant step forward, her tiny hand outstretched. When her skin touched Eliza's, Eliza could feel how cold and clammy it was. "Be good at school, sweetie," Eliza whispered. Her maternal instincts surged. She couldn't bear to see Lily so terrified. On impulse, Eliza leaned in, intending to give Lily a gentle kiss on her plump cheek. Lily's scream shattered the morning calm. The girl violently pushed Eliza's hand away, then scrambled to hide behind Ethan's legs, her body shaking uncontrollably. Her breathing was ragged, as if she'd just escaped a wild animal. "Daddy, Daddy," she whimpered, clutching his pants. Eliza remained frozen in her squatting position, a mix of humiliation and confusion washing over her. The next-door neighbor, who was watering her plants, glanced over with a suspicious look. Ethan let out a long sigh, as if exhausted by the whole situation. He bent down, stroked Lily's head, and then shot Eliza a sharp, judgmental glare. "What did you do to her while I was in the shower, Eliza?" he asked, his tone low but loaded with accusation. "Ethan, I swear, I didn't do anything. I just woke up and made breakfast." "A child doesn't react like this for no reason," Ethan cut in coldly. He opened the car door and settled Lily into her booster seat. Before getting into the driver's seat, he looked at Eliza one last time. It wasn't the look of a loving husband, but that of a prosecutor. "We'll talk about this tonight. I don't like these scenes in the morning. The neighbors can see. Eliza, watch your behavior." The car pulled away, leaving Eliza still crouched on the porch. Tears welled in her eyes. She squeezed her chest, which felt tight with pain. She had given everything, her savings, her time, her love. Why did Lily look at her as if she were a monster? Eliza slowly stood up, her legs weak. As she turned to go back inside, her eyes caught something on the ground near a large potted plant by the door. It was one of Lily's drawing pads, probably dropped when she ran. Eliza picked it up. It was open to a freshly colored page. Red crayon dominated the picture. It was a drawing of 3 stick figures, 1 tall man, 1 small child, and 1 woman with long hair. But there was something strange. The female figure was drawn with a wide, black mouth and unnaturally long arms, as if reaching to grab the child's neck. And above the woman, written in the messy scrawl of a kindergartner, were the words, "Mean Mommy." A chill went down Eliza's spine. It wasn't just the words, but another detail she noticed in the corner of the page. The crayon was pressed so hard it had nearly torn through the paper, as if the artist was filled with immense anger or fear. And worse, Eliza recognized the pattern on the Mean Mommy's dress. It was the pattern of her favorite pajamas. Who had taught Lily to draw this? Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text from an unknown number. It contained a single, short sentence. "Your husband is a great storyteller, but he forgot to cover one little hole." The mysterious text haunted Eliza all day. "Your husband is a great storyteller, but he forgot to cover one little hole." The sentence replayed in her mind like a broken record, poisoning her concentration at work. Still, she tried to push the suspicion away. It was probably just a prank caller, or maybe one of Ethan's bitter ex-girlfriends. She didn't want to ruin her fledgling marriage over an anonymous digital provocation. On her way home from work, Eliza stopped at a large toy store downtown. She remembered how Lily had stared intently at a fluffy brown teddy bear with a red ribbon in the store window last week. Maybe, Eliza thought, a surprise gift could be a bridge between us. Maybe this bear can make her forget this morning's terror. With a heart full of hope, Eliza drove home with the large, rainbow-wrapped box. The sky was darkening when her car pulled into the driveway. Ethan's car was already parked. Strange. He was home early. "Hello," Eliza called out as she opened the front door. The house was quiet, but the chill from the central air conditioning hit her skin immediately. In the living room, Eliza saw Lily sitting on the rug, playing with a puzzle, accompanied by Maria, their housekeeper who had worked for Ethan since before Eliza arrived. Seeing Eliza, Maria smiled warmly and gave a polite nod. But Lily's reaction was completely different. The girl instantly stopped playing, her body tensing, her eyes widening in alarm. It was as if a predator had just walked in, not her stepmother. "Hi, Lily, sweetie. Look what Mommy brought you." Eliza tried to ignore the girl's defensive posture, forcing a wide smile to hide the sting in her heart. She knelt near the rug, offering the gift. "It's the bear you saw at the mall. Let's open it together." Lily didn't move. Her breathing became heavy and rapid. "Come on, honey. I bought it just for you," Eliza coaxed again, a little more insistently. She reached out to touch Lily's shoulder. "Stay away." The scream was shrill, far louder and more hysterical than this morning. Lily leaped to her feet, kicking the puzzle pieces and sending them scattering. She then snatched the gift box from Eliza's hands. With a strength Eliza didn't know she possessed, the little girl hurled the box with all her might directly at Eliza. Thump! The hard corner of the box struck Eliza's temple. A sharp pain shot through her head, followed by a wave of dizziness. Eliza stumbled backward, clutching her throbbing forehead. "Miss Lily, my goodness!" Maria gasped, unsure of who to help. But Lily wasn't finished. She backed away until her back hit the wall, then started screaming while covering her ears. "Go away! Go away! Don't hit me! Please, Daddy, help!" Eliza stared, aghast. "Don't hit me?" When had she ever raised a hand to this child? "What is going on in here?" A booming baritone voice froze everyone in the room. Ethan appeared from his home office, his face red with rage. He took in the chaotic scene, the scattered puzzle, the dented gift box, Eliza holding her temple, and Lily, hysterical in the corner. Without asking a single question, Ethan rushed to Lily, scooping her up and hugging her tightly. "Shh! It's okay, baby girl. Daddy's here. Daddy's here. No one's going to hurt you." After Lily's cries subsided into choked sobs, Ethan turned to Eliza. His glare was so cold and full of hatred that Eliza felt herself shrink. "What did you do, Eliza?" Ethan hissed. "Ethan, I just gave her a gift," Eliza tried to explain, her voice hoarse with unshed tears. "She suddenly threw it at my face. Look, my temple is bruised." "Don't be so dramatic," Ethan snapped. Maria flinched and looked down at the floor. "A child doesn't react like a lunatic unless they're provoked. You were forcing it on her again, weren't you? Forcing your fake kindness on her so you can look like some fairy godmother to everyone else." "My God, Ethan, I was being sincere." "Save your tears," Ethan cut in harshly. He pointed a finger at Eliza, while his other arm held Lily's head against his chest, covering her eyes and ears as if protecting her from a monster. "If you're not ready to be a mother, then say so. Don't use my daughter as a test subject for your emotional issues. Look at her. She's traumatized." Traumatized. Ethan turned and carried Lily upstairs without a second glance. "Maria, clean up this mess. And don't let her into Lily's room tonight. I don't want Lily getting any more stressed." Eliza was left alone in the living room, humiliated in front of her own housekeeper. The pain in her temple was nothing compared to the ache in her chest. She had been slandered in her own home, by her own husband. "It's okay, ma'am," Maria whispered as she began picking up the puzzle pieces. "Miss Lily is probably just tired." Eliza didn't respond. She helped Maria, picking up the discarded gift box. As she lifted it, something fell from between the sofa cushions where Lily had been huddled. A small, black object. At first, Eliza thought it was a puzzle piece or a Lego, but when she picked it up, she frowned. It was a flash drive shaped like a cartoon character, its cap slightly ajar, revealing a tiny indicator light blinking a faint, almost invisible red. Eliza recognized this type of flash drive. It wasn't for data storage. It was a voice recorder, a newer model that could record for hours on end. Eliza's heart hammered against her ribs. A voice recorder in the sofa cushions? Her hands shaking, Eliza quickly slipped the device into her pocket before Maria could see it. Why was there a bugging device where Lily usually played? Who put it there? Was Ethan spying on her conversations with Lily to find fault, or had Lily been told to hold it? As Eliza started towards her room, her phone buzzed again, a notification from the same unknown number as this morning. She opened the message with bated breath. This time it wasn't a text, but a photo. Eliza's eyes widened. The phone nearly slipped from her hand. The photo was of a pharmacy receipt dated 2 days ago. The customer's name was clearly printed, Ethan Hayes. But it wasn't the name that made Eliza's blood run cold. It was the name of the medication purchased. It was a powerful, prescription-only central nervous system depressant. The kind of drug used for patients with severe psychiatric disorders to induce hallucinatory and paranoid states. And beneath the photo, the mysterious sender had added one final, terrifying sentence. "Ask your perfect husband whose milk he's been mixing it into every night." That night, the luxurious 2-story house felt like a cold, subterranean prison. Eliza sat on the edge of the bed in the guest room, where she had been banished by Ethan's decree. The phone in her hand felt hot, as if it were burning her palm. The photo of the pharmacy receipt was still on the screen. Haloperidol. A quick search on the internet confirmed her fears. It was an antipsychotic, a drug used to manage symptoms of severe mental disorders, hallucinations, and delusions. Why would Ethan buy such a potent drug? And for whom? The mysterious sender's message echoed in her mind. Ask your perfect husband whose milk he's been mixing it into every night. Eliza's heart pounded. Her logic was at war with her love for Ethan. He could be stern, even harsh at times, but poisoning his own daughter? The accusation was monstrous. Yet, Lily's unnaturally hysterical reactions, her vacant stares, her overwhelming fear, could they be side effects of the drug? Eliza couldn't sit still. She had to know. Tiptoeing, Eliza slipped out of the guest room. The clock read 11 p.m. The lights in the main living area were off, leaving only the dim glow from the garden lights filtering through the windows. She made her way to the kitchen. Her target, the canister of Lily's chocolate milk powder on the pantry counter. Her hands trembled as she reached for the canister. She opened the lid and sniffed the contents. It smelled normal, like regular chocolate milk mix. Eliza took a spoon and stirred the powder, looking for anything out of place, a white powder of a different texture perhaps. Looking for rat poison, Eliza? The voice came suddenly from the kitchen doorway, making Eliza jump so violently that the canister slipped from her grasp, spilling brown powder across the white tile floor. Ethan stood there, leaning against the doorframe with his arms crossed. His face was half shrouded in shadow, making his expression terrifying. He didn't look sleepy at all. Ethan, Eliza stammered, I was just making some warm milk for myself. I couldn't sleep. Ethan stepped forward slowly, his heavy footsteps echoing in the silent kitchen. He stopped directly in front of her, glancing down at the spilled powder with disgust. Don't lie to me, he hissed. You're suspicious of me, aren't you? You've been acting strange all day. Your eyes have been watching my every move. Eliza summoned her courage. It was now or never. She couldn't back down. Ethan, I need to ask you something. Lily, she isn't sick, is she? I mean, a sickness that requires special medication? Ethan's brow furrowed. What are you talking about? This morning and this evening? Lily's reactions were not normal, Ethan. A small child doesn't get hysterical like that for no reason. I'm worried she's on the wrong medicine, or that someone is giving her something that's making her hallucinate. Eliza chose her words carefully, avoiding a direct accusation. There was a moment of silence, and then Ethan laughed. It was a dry, humorless laugh. He shook his head slowly, looking at Eliza with an expression of pity. Wow, you're really something, Eliza, he said sarcastically. What are you now, a doctor, a detective? Are you trying to accuse me of poisoning my own child to cover up your own mistakes? I'm not accusing you, Ethan. I'm just asking. Come with me, Ethan cut in sharply. He grabbed Eliza's wrist, his grip like a vice, and dragged her out of the kitchen. Ethan, you're hurting me. Where are we going? Eliza struggled, but his hold was unbreakable. Ethan pulled her up the stairs, straight to Lily's room. He threw open the door to the lavender-themed bedroom. On the bed, Lily was sleeping soundly, hugging a pillow. The loud noise of the door startled her awake. Daddy? She whimpered, her voice groggy. Her eyes blinked in fear as she saw Ethan and Eliza in the doorway. Ethan ignored her shock. He dragged Eliza closer to the bed. Then, with a swift but careful movement, he pushed up the sleeve of Lily's pajamas. Look at this, he barked, shoving Lily's small arm in front of Eliza's face. Eliza gasped. On Lily's upper arm, in a spot normally covered by her sleeve, was a large purplish-blue bruise, the distinct mark of a powerful pinch. Oh my God, Eliza whispered, covering her mouth. Lily, how did this happen? Ethan stared at her, his eyes narrowing. You're still asking how, Lily told me before she went to sleep. Mommy Eliza pinched me when Daddy was in the shower this morning. She said you threatened to hit her if she told me. That's a lie, Eliza cried out, tears instantly streaming down her face. She looked at Lily, desperate for a different answer. Lily, sweetie, I never pinched you, did I? Tell Daddy. I never hurt you. Lily trembled violently. She pulled her arm back from Ethan's grasp, hugged her knees and buried her face. It hurts, Daddy. I'm scared, she whimpered. Eliza's world collapsed. A child this small was lying. Ethan released Eliza's arm with disgust, as if touching her was contaminating. You heard her. A child that young doesn't know how to lie, Eliza. But a stressed-out adult? They're experts at manipulation. Or maybe you're the one who's sick. He leaned in close, his voice dropping to a deadly, serpentine whisper. Maybe you're the one who needs the medication, Eliza. You work too hard. You're so obsessed with being the perfect mother that you don't even realize what your hands are doing when you get angry. It's called dissociation. You abuse her without knowing, and then your brain erases the memory so you can keep feeling like a good person. Ethan's words seeped into her mind like poison. Dissociation? Unconscious abuse? Was it possible? Was she that crazy? Was she the monster after all? Eliza began to doubt her own memory. Her hands trembled as she stared at her own palms. Were these the hands that made that bruise? Get out, Ethan commanded coldly. Get out of my daughter's room, and starting tomorrow, you will not go near Lily without my supervision. If I find one more bruise on her, I won't hesitate to have you committed to a psychiatric hospital or thrown in jail. Eliza backed away slowly, her vision blurred by tears. She ran out of the room, back to the guest room, and locked the door. She slid down to the floor, sobbing silently so no one could hear. Her self-confidence was shattered. She felt insane. But in the midst of her sobs, her hand brushed against her pocket. The voice recorder she had found was still there. It felt cool against her skin. If she was crazy, if she was an unconscious abuser, then this recording might prove it. Maybe it contained the sound of her own voice, screaming at Lily during one of her blackouts. With trembling hands, Eliza took her work laptop from her bag. She had to know the truth, no matter how painful. She plugged the small device into the USB port. A folder appeared on the screen. There was only one audio file, 2 hours long, recorded today while Eliza was at the office. Eliza put in her earphones, took a deep breath, and pressed play. At first, there was only the sound of cartoons from the TV and the hum of the air conditioner. 10 minutes passed, with only the sound of Maria sweeping the floor. But at the 45-minute mark, she heard a door open. Heavy footsteps. It was Ethan. But shouldn't he have been at his office at that time? Ethan's voice came through, but it wasn't the gentle tone she was used to. Lily, come here. No, Daddy's mean, Lily's small voice squeaked. I said, come here. Do you want me to lock you in the basement with the spiders again? The sound of shuffling followed, then Lily's muffled sobs. Listen to me very carefully. When that woman gets home, you have to scream if she comes near you. You have to throw things. Understand? But Mommy Eliza is nice, Daddy. She is not your mother. Ethan's shout was so loud Eliza jumped in her seat. She's a witch. She wants to take this house from us. If you love Daddy, you have to make her leave. If you don't... The distinct sound of tearing fabric filled the recording. I'll cut the head off your teddy bear. Eliza clamped her hand over her mouth to stifle a scream. Her eyes were wide with horror as she stared at the laptop screen. No, she wasn't crazy. She wasn't sick. But a new terror gripped her as the audio file suddenly stopped playing and vanished from the screen. Her laptop's cursor moved on its own. A notepad window opened automatically on her Wi-Fi connected laptop. Words were typed, letter by someone controlling her computer remotely. I know you're listening, my dear wife. Open your door. Now. The next second, the doorknob on Eliza's guest room door began to turn. The door wasn't locked. Eliza's heart felt like it stopped beating as the handle turned downward. On pure adrenaline-fueled instinct, her hand shot out and snatched the flash drive from the laptop, yanking it out and shoving it down the front of her bra, the one place she figured wouldn't be casually searched. The door swung open. Ethan stood there. The explosive anger from earlier was gone. His face wasn't red. All that remained was a thin, terrifying smile and eyes as calm as a poisoned lake. He was wearing dark blue silk pajamas, looking completely relaxed, as if he hadn't just threatened his wife through her own computer. Not asleep yet, darling? He asked softly. Too softly. Eliza scrambled backward until her back hit the wardrobe. Her breath came in ragged gasps. You hacked my laptop. Ethan stepped inside, closing the door behind him with a soft click that sounded like a death sentence. He walked over to the desk, glancing at the now blank laptop screen. The threatening message was gone. Hacked? He chuckled, rubbing his chin. Your imagination is getting wilder, Eliza. I just got a security notification on my phone about suspicious network activity from this device. I was just checking for a virus. He stared at Eliza, his eyes scanning her pale face. You look a mess, sweating, trembling. Are you seeing things that aren't there again? Stop pretending, Ethan, Eliza yelled, though her voice shook. "I heard the recording. I heard you threatening Lily. You're the one abusing her. You're the one telling her to hate me." Ethan didn't deny it. He didn't confirm it either. He simply looked at Eliza with an expression of profound pity, like a doctor looking at a terminal patient. Slowly, he reached out. "What recording, Eliza? There's no file here," he said, typing something on her laptop's keyboard. He turned the screen towards her. It was empty. All the folders were clean. "See? No recording. No proof. Just you, having a hysterical episode alone in your room at night. You deleted it. You deleted it remotely." Ethan sighed, his face a mask of deep disappointment. "Enough. This has gone too far. Your mental state is deteriorating. You're creating these evil scenarios in your head to blame me because you can't accept the reality that Lily rejects you." Without warning, Ethan slammed the laptop shut and tucked it under his arm. His other hand shot out towards her. "Give me your phone." "What? No!" Eliza clutched her pocket. "Give it to me," he snapped. His voice wasn't loud, but it was filled with a dominating pressure that crushed her defiance. "Starting tonight, you're on a digital detox. No gadgets, no internet, no TV. You need a total break from all this mental poison. Tomorrow, I'm calling the best psychiatrist in the city to treat you here, at home." "You're going to imprison me?" Eliza's tears started to fall. "I'm going to heal you," he corrected coldly. He stepped forward and forcibly took the phone from her pocket. Eliza tried to fight back, hitting his chest, but his strength was overwhelming. In an instant, her phone was gone. "Go to sleep. Lock the door if you want, I don't care. But remember this, Eliza," he bent down, whispering directly into her ear. The minty scent of his breath was nauseating. "No one will ever believe you. A depressed, unstable wife versus a respected, loving businessman. Who do you think they'll believe?" Ethan walked out with her laptop and phone, leaving her crumpled on the floor. She heard the sound of a key turning in the lock from the outside. Eliza was trapped. She didn't sleep a wink that night. She huddled in a corner, hugging her knees, feeling utterly alone. Her communication was cut off. The flash drive was safe in her bra, but it was useless without a device to play it on. The next day, true hell began. The house became a fortress. The front gate was double-locked. The usually friendly security guard was replaced by a new, grim-faced man who wouldn't let her step past the porch. Maria, her only potential ally, seemed terrified, avoiding Eliza's gaze and working in silence. Eliza tried to borrow Maria's phone when Ethan was at work, but the housekeeper burst into tears and fell to her knees. "Please, ma'am, don't ask. Mr. Hayes told me if I let you use a phone, he'd stop paying for my son's medical treatments. He pays for everything, ma'am. I'm so scared," Maria sobbed. Eliza sank into a dining chair, defeated. Ethan had thought of everything. He controlled everyone with his money and power. She was completely isolated in this golden cage. That afternoon, despair peaked. She needed a way out. She needed an ally. Wandering aimlessly down the second-floor hallway, her steps halted in front of a door that was always kept locked, the old storage attic at the end of the hall. For some reason, today it was slightly ajar. Driven by a powerful curiosity, Eliza pushed it open. The room was dusty and filled with old boxes. In the corner stood an old wooden chest. Something called to her. She opened the bottom drawer. Under a pile of old tablecloths, her fingers touched a leather-bound diary, its cover peeling. She opened it. On the first page, in neat, elegant handwriting, was a name, Sarah. The name of Ethan's first wife, Lily's mother. Eliza read page after page, her breath catching in her throat. The early entries were happy, filled with notes about her pregnancy and Lily's birth. But halfway through, the tone shifted drastically to fear, suspicion, and desperation. Her eyes locked on the final entry, dated 2 days before Sarah was reported to have died in an accidental fall down the stairs. May 12, 2021. He made me take the pills again. My head is so foggy. I know I'm not crazy, but he's making everyone believe I am. Lily, forgive Mommy. I can't protect you anymore. He isn't human. He's a devil in disguise. If anyone ever reads this, please find the item behind the sunflower painting in his study. It's my life insurance. He's coming. I hear his footsteps. The diary fell from Eliza's hands. Her entire body went cold. Sarah didn't die by accident. The pattern was identical. The drugs, the accusations of insanity, the isolation. Suddenly, the shrill ring of the landline phone from downstairs made her jump. The landline. She had forgotten about the old, rarely used phone in the family room. Maybe Ethan had forgotten to disconnect it. Eliza bolted from the attic, flying down the stairs. She snatched the receiver from its cradle, a dial tone. Her hands shaking, she dialed 911. 911. "What's your emergency?" A calm voice answered. "Hello? Police?" Eliza said, breathless. "Please help me. I'm being held captive by my husband. He's trying to kill me. My address is—" Before she could finish, a large hand reached from behind her and slammed the disconnect button down. Click! Eliza's breath hitched. The familiar masculine scent of his cologne filled the air. "I knew you'd be trouble," Ethan's voice whispered, right behind her neck. "And I just got home, planning to give you a surprise." Eliza turned slowly, her face ashen. Ethan stood there, smiling broadly. In his right hand, he held a large hammer. "What are you doing with this broken old phone, darling? I told you." He lifted the hammer high and swung it down with all his might onto the phone. Crack! It shattered into pieces. "Now," Ethan said, kicking a piece of plastic with his shoe. "We have a guest. Your private doctor is here. Let's go greet him with a smile. Don't embarrass me." Eliza's world went dark. When consciousness slowly returned, her eyelids felt like lead. Her mouth was bone dry. The last thing she remembered was Ethan's grin, a man in a white coat introduced as Dr. Evans, and the cold prick of a needle in her arm. "She's awake." A sharp, imperious woman's voice cut through the fog. Eliza recognized it. It was her mother-in-law, Catherine, a flicker of hope ignited in her chest. Catherine was stern, but she was a respectable woman. Surely, she would believe her. With what little strength she had, Eliza forced herself out of bed. Her body was unsteady, her legs like jelly from the sedative. She stumbled to the bedroom door, which was strangely unlocked. The bright light of the living room was blinding. On the cream-colored leather sofa sat Catherine, a designer handbag on her lap, her face a mask of disapproval. Beside her, Ethan sat with his head bowed, his shoulders slumped in a perfect portrayal of a stressed, weary husband. "Catherine!" Eliza called, her voice raspy and broken, her tongue thick and uncooperative. All eyes turned to her. Instead of sympathy, Catherine's gaze was filled with disgust. "You see, Mom?" Ethan said softly, his tone full of feigned sadness. "Waking up at this hour, hair a mess, can barely walk straight. Dr. Evans said we might have to increase her dosage. She's getting more aggressive." "Good Lord, Eliza," Catherine sighed, shaking her head. "I thought you were a decent woman who could take care of my son and granddaughter. It turns out you're mentally ill." "No. Catherine, listen." Eliza tried to get closer. "Ethan, he's evil. He drugged Lily. He smashed the phone. He wants to kill me." But under the influence of the heavy sedative, her words came out as a garbled, incoherent rant. To Catherine, she sounded like a raving lunatic. Catherine stood up, recoiling as Eliza reached for her arm. "Watch your mouth. Ethan is the most patient husband in the world. You're lucky he didn't just divorce you and throw you out on the street. He hired an expensive doctor to care for you at home, and this is how you repay him? By accusing him of being a murderer? But the recording, Sarah's diary." Eliza wept, sinking to the cold marble floor. "Enough!" Catherine snapped. "Do not speak the name of my beloved daughter-in-law. Sarah died in an accident. Don't you dare drag her into your madness." Ethan rose from the sofa, knelt beside Eliza, and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. To an outsider, it looked like a comforting embrace. But his fingers dug into her upper arm, pressing hard on the injection site until she winced in pain. "I'm so sorry about my wife, Mom. She's having another episode," he whispered gently, then shot Eliza a murderous look hidden from his mother's view. "Honey, you need to rest. Don't make a scene." "Where's Lily?" Eliza rambled, desperate. "Lily is afraid of you," Catherine spat. "My granddaughter was hiding in the bathroom when she heard you leave the room. You are a failure as a mother." The words struck Eliza harder than a physical blow. Failure, insane, ungrateful. "It's okay, Mom. I'll take Eliza back to her room. The new nurse will be here soon," Ethan said. He hauled Eliza to her feet and dragged her back to the guest room. The moment the door closed, Ethan's mask fell away. He shoved her onto the bed. "You see? It's useless," he said coldly. "My mother believes my tears more than the ravings of a crazy person like you. The combination of haloperidol and sedatives makes you look exactly like an addict. It's perfect." Eliza could only weep silently. She was too weak to fight. "Oh, and one more thing," Ethan added with a smirk. "Since I'm too busy to watch you 24/7, I've hired a special private nurse. She'll be staying in here with you. She'll make sure you take your medicine, eat, and don't try anything stupid." The door opened again. A young woman entered carrying a tray with a glass of water and several colorful pills. The woman was beautiful, with a slim figure poured into a tight white nurse's uniform. Her hair was bleached blonde, and she wore far too much makeup for a medical professional. But what made Eliza's blood freeze was the way she looked at Ethan. There was a sickening glint of lust and familiarity in her eyes. "Hello, Mrs. Hayes," the woman purred. "My name is Jessica. I'll be taking care of you from now on." Eliza recognized the voice. It was the woman she'd overheard on the phone with Ethan weeks ago, the one he'd dismissed as a demanding client. And the look in Jessica's eyes was not that of a nurse, but of a victor staring down a defeated rival. Ethan walked over to Jessica, his hand brazenly stroking her waist right in front of Eliza. "Take good care of her, Jess. Make sure my wife sleeps soundly. Permanently. I mean, during her treatment." Jessica let out a small, cruel laugh that sounded like a death knell. "Of course, honey, leave it to me." Ethan left, leaving Eliza trapped with his mistress, who now held complete power over her life. Jessica approached the bed, grabbing Eliza's chin with her long, sharp nails. Her sweet smile vanished, replaced by a vicious sneer. "So this is the high and mighty lady of the house," she whispered. She picked up the glass and pills. "Listen up, you psycho. Drink this. The faster you disappear, the faster Ethan and I can take over this house and get married for real. So be a good girl and swallow your medicine." Jessica tried to force the pills into Eliza's mouth. Eliza clamped her lips shut, tears streaming down her face. She didn't want to die, but she had no strength. Just as despair threatened to consume her, she remembered Sarah's diary. Find the item behind the sunflower painting in his study. Ethan's study was right next to this room. Their walls were shared. While Jessica was momentarily distracted, Eliza's eyes darted around the room. She saw a faint crack in the wall near the headboard and an old air vent partially hidden by a wardrobe. If the house was built like most older homes, that vent might connect to the next room. Eliza allowed Jessica to force one pill down her throat, then pretended to pass out. "Pathetic," Jessica scoffed. She walked over to a sofa in the corner, pulled out her phone, and started taking selfies. Eliza opened her eyes a fraction. She wasn't done yet. She still had the flash drive in her bra, and now she had a new goal: get through that wall. But before she could plan, her gaze drifted to the ceiling. In the corner, a small, blinking red light emanated from what looked like a smoke detector, but the shape was wrong. There was a tiny black lens in the center. It was a hidden camera. A crazy, desperate, and dangerous idea formed in her mind. If Ethan liked to watch, then she would give him a show. But not the show he was expecting. She would use that camera to turn the tables on him. For now, however, she had to survive the she-devil named Jessica, who was now looking at her while idly playing with an empty syringe. "It's going to be a long night, Mrs. Hayes," Jessica hissed. "Don't expect to get any sleep." The bitter taste of the pill lingered on Eliza's tongue. Though she had managed to spit the yellow tablet into a potted plant while Jessica was distracted an hour ago, she lay perfectly still, her breathing deep and even, mimicking the rhythm of someone in a sedated sleep. On the corner sofa, Jessica was lounging with her feet up, wearing headphones and giggling as she video chatted, most likely with Ethan. Eliza's brain was now working with icy precision. Her fear had morphed into a primal survival instinct. She remembered Sarah's diary, the sunflower painting in the study. At exactly 2 a.m., Jessica finally fell asleep, her phone resting on her chest. This was her chance. Eliza slid silently off the bed. She didn't head for the door. She knew it was locked from the outside. Her target was the large wardrobe against the right-hand wall, the wall that bordered Ethan's study. In older homes like this, connecting doors were often sealed up or blocked by new owners. She squeezed into the narrow gap between the wardrobe and the wall. Sure enough, Beneath a layer of dust, she could feel the outline of a wooden doorframe. She fumbled for the knob. It was locked, but it was an old, rusty mortise lock. Pulling a bobby pin from her hair, her hands shaking but her focus absolute, she worked the lock. A soft click echoed in the silence. The door creaked open. The smell of expensive cigars and old paper hit her. Eliza slipped into Ethan's study. The room was dark, lit only by moonlight filtering through the blinds. Her heart raced. If Ethan had a camera in here, she was finished. But she saw the indicator light on the corner camera was off. He must have disabled it for his own privacy. Her eyes scanned the room. There, above the mahogany desk, hung a large painting of sunflowers in the style of Van Gogh. She climbed onto Ethan's leather chair and carefully lifted the heavy painting off the wall. Taped to the back of the wooden frame was a brown envelope. She tore it open under the moonlight. Inside were two items, a legal document and a small SD card. She unfolded the document. The letterhead made her eyes widen. Deed of trust and last will. The document stated that the house and all associated assets, savings, stocks belonged to Sarah's father and were willed entirely to his granddaughter Lily. Ethan, as the husband, had no ownership rights whatsoever. A chilling clause in the final paragraph stipulated that upon Sarah's death, Ethan would act as Lily's guardian until she turned 21. However, if Lily were to die or be declared permanently mentally incapacitated before her 21st birthday, all assets would transfer to Ethan Hayes in their entirety. The puzzle was solved. Ethan wasn't rich. He was a parasite who had married Sarah for her family's fortune, and now the only thing standing between him and absolute wealth was Lily. He couldn't just kill her, it would be too suspicious. So he devised a crueler plan: drive her insane, have her declared mentally incompetent, and gain full control of the trust. Eliza's role was to be the unwitting pawn, the credible witness who would one day testify in court about her unstable stepdaughter. And once her purpose was served, she would have met the same fate as Sarah. "Bastard," Eliza hissed. She stuffed the documents and the SD card inside her clothing with the flash drive. She needed to see what was on that card. Ethan's computer sat on the desk. The screen was dark. She touched the mouse. The screen lit up, asking for a password. She tried Ethan's birthday, their anniversary, no luck. On a whim, she typed in Lily's birthday. It worked, but it wasn't a normal desktop that appeared. The screen was filled with a live feed from the home's security cameras. 6 small windows displayed different angles of the house. Her eyes locked on the bottom left square. Lily's bedroom. The feed was live. The timestamp read 2:15 a.m. The bedroom door opened. Ethan walked in. He wasn't hitting Lily. He was doing something far more sinister. He sat on the edge of her bed and pulled a grotesque mask from behind his back, the face of a withered old woman with matted hair and a bloody mouth. Ethan put on the mask. He gently shook Lily awake. As the little girl's eyes fluttered open, Ethan leaned in close, holding a large, gleaming butcher knife he'd brought with him. On the screen, Lily screamed silently. The audio was muted. She scrambled backward, kicking at her blankets until she hit the wall. Ethan, behind the mask, simply stood there, a silent, terrifying figure, branding this trauma deep into his own daughter's mind. Eliza clamped her hand over her mouth. This was why Lily was so afraid of her. Ethan had been terrorizing her every night, disguised as a monstrous mother figure, brainwashing her into believing that a mother's touch was a prelude to murder. Forget the plan. Forget her own safety. Lily was being tortured right now. Eliza snatched a heavy metal award trophy from Ethan's desk. She was going to smash his skull in. But as she turned to run, she heard footsteps in the hall outside the study. It wasn't Ethan. It was the security guards on their patrol. The beam of a flashlight swept under the door, and from the connecting door behind her, she heard the groggy voice of Jessica. "Hey, the door's open." "Eliza?" She was trapped, guards in front, Jessica behind, and on the monitor, Lily was living a nightmare. Eliza looked at the trophy in her hand, then at the large plate glass window. The only way out was down. The swimming pool shimmered 2 stories below. But before she could move, the main study door's handle turned. "Who's in there?" a guard's voice barked. Eliza stumbled backward, accidentally bumping the keyboard. The monitor flared to life, brightly illuminating the horrific scene of the masked Ethan terrorizing Lily. The door burst open. A large guard stepped in, followed by a frantic Jessica. "Get her!" Jessica shrieked, pointing at Eliza. But the guard's eyes weren't on Eliza. They were glued to the large monitor behind her, at the sickening spectacle of his employer tormenting a small child with a knife. For 3 agonizing seconds, the room was silent. "Help me," Eliza breathed, holding up the trophy like a weapon, her eyes pleading with the guard. "You have a daughter, don't you?" The guard was frozen, his gaze flicking from the screen, to Eliza, to Jessica. He was torn. "Don't listen to this crazy woman. Grab her or I'll tell Mr. Hayes to fire you," Jessica screamed. The guard sighed, his hand moving toward the baton on his belt. Eliza squeezed her eyes shut, bracing for the blow. Instead, the guard stepped back, slammed the study door shut from the inside, and locked it. He turned to Jessica with a cold, hard look. "Sorry, miss. I need the money, but I'm not a monster." Whack! A single, decisive blow from his baton sent Jessica crumpling to the floor, unconscious. Eliza's eyes flew open in disbelief. "Go, now," the guard urged, pointing to the window. "Jump into the pool, run out the side gate. I'll hold them off as long as I can. Save Miss Lily." This was the turning point. The awakening had begun. The pool water was ice cold as Eliza's body plunged into it. The impact, muffled by the depth, was a violent shock that jolted every cell in her body. In the dark, chilling water, she swam not just for her life, but for her rebirth. She surfaced at the edge of the pool, gasping for air, her body racked with shivers. Looking up at the open study window, she could hear the faint sounds of shouting and a door being battered. The security guard, her unexpected hero, was buying her time. Her first instinct was to run back inside, to storm Lily's room and save her. But a new, cold logic stopped her. If she went back and empty-handed, Ethan would kill her, twist the story, and Laris would be trapped with him forever. To win the war, she had to retreat from this battle. Eliza scrambled out of the pool and crept to the side of the house where the main circuit breaker was located. With a wet hand, she yanked the main lever down. Clunk! The entire estate plunged into darkness. The CCTV, the lights, everything died. A frustrated roar echoed from the second floor. "Damn it, power's out. Guard, check the generator." That was her diversion. Eliza ran to the front gate. It was locked, but a key to the smaller pedestrian gate was hanging on a hook in the empty guard post. She slipped out and ran barefoot down the asphalt of the quiet, wealthy neighborhood. Sharp gravel cut her feet, but the pain only made her feel more alive. She ran until she was breathless, finally spotting the fluorescent glow of a 24-hour convenience store on the main road, over a mile away. The store's clerk, dozing on a stool, jolted awake at the sight of a soaking wet, bruised woman with no shoes stumbling in. "Ma'am, are you okay? Should I call the police?" Eliza saw her reflection in a cooler door. She looked pathetic, but then she straightened her back, a new fire in her eyes. The weak, pleading Eliza was gone. "I need a hot black coffee," she said, her voice steady and sharp. "And can I borrow a charger for my phone? I'll pay you double." The clerk, unnerved by her intensity, complied. Eliza sat in a hidden corner, pulling the 2 flash drives and the SD card from her drenched clothes. She had wrapped them in a waterproof document pouch she'd grabbed from Ethan's desk. The evidence was safe. Plugging them into her laptop, she began uploading everything to multiple cloud storage accounts. Then she opened the files on the SD card from Sarah. It was worse than she imagined. There was a video, a secret testimony recorded by Sarah before her death. In it, a gaunt, terrified Sarah spoke to the camera. "If you're watching this, I'm already dead. Ethan, he's the one who made me fall down the stairs last month. I had a miscarriage. He threatened to kill Lily if I tried to leave him. Please, whoever finds this, contact my brother, Andrew Collins." Ethan framed him and sent him to prison, but Drew is the only one who knows what a monster Ethan really is. Eliza's fists clenched. Ethan wasn't just a monster, he was a murderer. She closed the laptop. She wouldn't call the police. Not yet. Ethan had money and connections. He could twist the narrative. No, she would use the weapon he feared most, public opinion. She began to type, crafting not a plea for help, but a cold, factual timeline of events, complete with photos of Lily's bruises, the audio of Ethan's threats, and the CCTV footage of him terrorizing his daughter. She titled the social media thread she was building, "Behind the Gates of Emerald Creek, the true story of a father who created a monster to steal his daughter's fortune." She didn't post it yet. That was the final bomb. First, she needed an ally. She searched for Andrew Collins, attorney. An article popped up. Andrew Collins, exonerated in embezzlement case, rebuilds career. She found the contact number for his law firm. She sent a short, encrypted text. "Mr. Collins, my name is Eliza Hayes, Ethan's new wife. I have proof your sister Sarah was murdered, and I have proof Lily is being tortured right now. I need your help to destroy him." A minute later, her phone rang. It was Andrew Collins. "Hello?" A wary, deep voice said. "Mr. Collins," Eliza said, her voice like ice as she stared out at the dark street. "Get your best suit ready. Tomorrow, we're going to put on a show for the entire country." But as she spoke, a breaking news alert flashed on her laptop screen. Massive fire engulfs home in prestigious Emerald Creek Estates. Her heart stopped. That was her address. Ethan hadn't come after her. He was burning the evidence. He was burning the house down. With Lily inside. "Lily," she whispered, the phone falling from her hand. Black smoke billowed into the night sky as sirens wailed in the distance. Eliza ran, her bare, bleeding feet pounding the pavement. When she reached the barricade at the entrance to her street, the sight made her collapse. The magnificent house was a raging inferno. And amidst the chaos, she saw him, Ethan. He was on his knees on the asphalt, howling in theatrical grief for a police officer. His clothes were singed, his face smudged with soot, a perfect costume. "My wife, she was insane, officer," he cried, his voice convincingly broken. "She had a psychotic break. She locked herself in the room with my daughter. She lit the curtains on fire. I tried to break down the door, but the flames. He punched the ground, playing the part of the devastated father brilliantly. Rage boiled in Eliza's blood. He was destroying all the evidence, the diary, the attic, the house itself, and he was trying to kill Lily, intending to collect the insurance money and the full inheritance with one horrific act. She was about to charge through the police line and scream the truth when a strong arm pulled her into the shadows behind a large tree. She nearly cried out, but a hand covered her mouth. "Shh, Mrs. Hayes, it's me." It was the security guard. His face was scratched and grimy, and bundled in his oversized jacket was a small, trembling figure. "Lily!" Eliza gasped, tears of relief flooding her eyes. She grabbed the tiny girl, who was in a state of shock, her eyes vacant. For the first time, Lily didn't pull away. She clung to Eliza, burying her face in her chest. "I got her out the back just before he started pouring the gasoline. Ma'am," the guard whispered, shaking. "Mr. Hayes. He did it himself. He poured it all over her room. He's a devil, ma'am." "Thank you," Eliza sobbed, holding Lily tight. "You saved our lives. We have to tell the police over there," the guard started. "No!" Eliza stopped him, her voice firm. She looked at Ethan, who was now being helped into an ambulance by paramedics. "Look at him. He controls the story. If we show up now, he'll say I kidnapped Lily and burned the house down. He has money. He has connections. Then what do we do?" As if in answer, a sleek black sedan pulled up silently beside them, stopping in a dark patch of the street. The back window rolled down. A man with a stern face and thick-rimmed glasses looked out. He had the same jawline as Lily. Andrew Collins, Sarah's brother. "Get in," Andrew said, his voice curt, though his eyes welled with tears when he saw his niece was safe. Eliza looked at the guard. "You come with us. You're our key witness. If you stay here, Ethan will find you." Without hesitation, they all piled into the car. Inside the quiet, air-conditioned vehicle, Andrew took Lily, holding her in a tight, sobbing embrace. Eliza sat in the front seat. In the side mirror, she watched Ethan's performance as the car pulled away. He thought he had won. He thought she and Lily were ashes. "Let him enjoy his victory tonight," Eliza said coldly, her eyes fixed on her husband's shrinking figure. "You have the proof?" Andrew asked. "Everything," Eliza replied, tapping her chest where the drives were safely tucked away. "Audio recordings, CCTV footage of the torture, Sarah's real will, and her video testimony, plus our witness." Andrew nodded, his jaw tight. "I have a legal team and media contacts on standby. We're not going through the slow, conventional channels. We're going to use the same method he used to destroy my sister. A public trial. Eliza finished. Exactly. Tomorrow morning, when he wakes up thinking he's a free, wealthy widower, we'll make sure the entire country knows his real face before he even has his morning coffee. Eliza took out the phone Andrew had given her. She opened the social media thread she had prepared. She added one last photo, a picture she had just taken of the burning house from the car window. She edited the caption, "He burned the house down to cover his tracks. He thought we were dead. But he forgot one thing. You can't burn the truth. Ethan Hayes, your game is over." She hit post. The black car sped into the night, carrying the victims who had now become the hunters. In the distance, the fire still raged. But the real fire, the fire of a mother's vengeance, had just been lit. And this time, nothing could extinguish it. The next morning, the lobby of the private hospital where Ethan was being treated had been transformed into a makeshift press conference. Dozens of reporters jostled for position, their cameras flashing. Ethan sat in a wheelchair, his arm in a sling, feigning a minor injury. His face was puffy, and crocodile tears streamed perfectly down his cheeks. Beside him, his mother Catherine sobbed dramatically into a tissue, completing the charade. I never thought my wife would do something so drastic," Ethan choked out into a bouquet of microphones. "Eliza had a history of depression she hid from me. She became obsessed with my daughter, Lily. Last night, she locked the door, poured gasoline, and took my only child with her." He bowed his head, his shoulders shaking. "Forgive me, Lily. Daddy failed to protect you." The room was filled with sympathetic silence. But then, a strange thing happened. One by one, the reporters' phones began to buzz. Faces that were once filled with pity morphed into shock, then confusion, then disgust. A senior journalist raised his hand. "Mr. Hayes, you say your wife and child died in the fire?" "Yes," Ethan sniffled. "The fire department is still searching for their remains." "Then can you please explain who is broadcasting live on the television behind you?" Ethan's heart plummeted. He whipped his head around. On the giant TV in the lobby, a breaking news banner flashed in bright red. "Exclusive, survivors of Emerald Creek Fire speak out." And there she was. Eliza, alive. She sat poised in a lawyer's office, a fading bruise on her temple. On her lap, Lily sat quietly, clutching a new doll. "My name is Eliza Hayes," her clear, steady voice boomed through the lobby's speakers. "And this is my daughter, Lily. We did not die in a fire. We escaped a premeditated murder attempt orchestrated by my husband, Ethan Hayes." "Lies," Ethan screamed, forgetting his act and leaping from the wheelchair. "That's a deep fake, a fabrication. Turn it off." But no one was listening. The reporters' cameras were now all pointed at his pale, panicked face. On the screen, the image changed. It was now black and white CCTV footage. The lobby went silent. It showed Ethan, his face clearly visible, entering Lily's room with a knife and a grotesque mask. The audio, now unmuted, played his chilling words, "If you don't, I'll cut the head off your teddy bear." The footage changed again, this time to Sarah's tearful video confession. "Ethan is the one who made me fall. He's after Lily's inheritance." Ethan's world imploded. Sympathy turned to a tidal wave of fury. "Murderer!" someone shouted. "Psychopath!" yelled a reporter. He stumbled backward, looking desperately at his mother. But even she was staring at the screen, her face as white as a sheet. Jessica, who had been lingering in the background, had vanished into the chaos. "No, this is a misunderstanding. I was just disciplining my child," he rambled. Just then, the main doors of the lobby swung open. Eliza walked in. She wasn't on a screen anymore. She was there, in the flesh, flanked by Andrew Collins and a phalanx of uniformed police officers. Her footsteps echoed on the marble floor. "Good morning, Ethan," she said, her voice ice. She stopped a few feet from him. "How was the performance? It's a shame the audience didn't like your ending." "You," he snarled, his mask of the perfect husband completely shattered. "You bitch!" He lunged forward to attack her. He never made it. Two officers tackled him, slamming him face first onto the cold hospital floor. A pair of handcuffs clicked shut around his wrists. "Let me go! I'm Ethan Hayes! You have no idea who I am!" he shrieked, thrashing like the madman he had pretended Eliza to be. Andrew stepped forward. looking down at the pathetic man on the floor. "Oh, we know exactly who you are. You're a suspect in multiple felonies, including premeditated murder, child abuse, arson, and fraud. And as of this moment, all your assets are frozen." As the police dragged him away, Ethan locked eyes with Eliza. "I'll get you for this, Eliza. I'll be back." She leaned in close, whispering for only him to hear. "Save your energy for prison, Ethan. Lily remembers everything now. She remembers you pushing her mother down the stairs." The color drained completely from his face. His deepest secret was out. He went limp, a dead weight dragged away by the police, his ruin captured by 1,000 flashing cameras. Catherine, his mother, let out a final, piercing shriek and fainted. Eliza stood in the center of it all, took a deep breath, and for the first time in months, she felt free. 6 months later, the sharp rap of a judge's gavel echoed through the packed courtroom, bringing the dark chapter to a close. Life in prison for Ethan Hayes. No parole. Siska, the fake nurse, was caught at the airport trying to flee the country and received a lengthy sentence for her complicity. Catherine, whose fortune was tied to her son's, was left penniless and alone, suffering a minor stroke in a tiny, rented apartment. Eliza didn't care. They were dust in the wind of a past she had left behind. The afternoon sun streamed into the kitchen of a modest but cheerful suburban house. This home had no marble pillars or grim-faced security guards, but it was filled with something the mansion never had: warmth. Eliza was cutting apples at the table when a happy shout came from the backyard. "Mommy!" Lily ran in, her bare feet smudged with dirt, holding up a drawing. Her cheeks were rosy, her eyes bright and full of life. "Look! I drew our family." Eliza took the paper. Gone was the mean mommy, with black claws. In its place were 3 figures holding hands under a smiling sun, Lily in the middle, a man with glasses on one side, and a woman with long hair and a giant red heart on her dress on the other. Underneath, it read, "Lily's new family." "It's beautiful, sweetie," Eliza said, gently wiping a smudge of dirt from Lily's cheek. "And who's this handsome man with the glasses? Is that Uncle Drew?" Lily nodded eagerly. "Yep, he promised to take us to fly kites today." Just then, the doorbell rang. Eliza smiled. It was Andrew Drew Collins, holding a box of pizza and a large kite shaped like an eagle. Over the last 6 months, he had become not just their lawyer, but their protector, their friend. "Ready to fly an eagle, Captain?" he asked Lily, who launched herself into his arms. Later, they sat on the back porch as the sun began to set. Lily ran across the lawn, the kite soaring high above her. "She's completely healed," Drew murmured, watching her. "Thank you, Eliza. You saved her. Sarah would be so grateful." "We saved each other," Eliza said softly. "And she saved me, too." Drew's hand moved slowly across the armrest until it gently touched hers. Eliza didn't pull away. She let the warmth spread through her, a warmth she thought she'd never feel again. "Mommy! Uncle Drew! Look how high it is!" Lily shouted with glee. Eliza walked over to her. "Come here, sweetie. Your hair is all messy from the wind," she said gently. It was the same gesture from that first, terrible morning. But this time, there was no scream, no fear. Lily simply stood still, closed her eyes, and let Eliza's fingers softly comb through her hair. When she was done, Lily wrapped her small arms around Eliza's waist and hugged her tight. "Thank you, Mommy," she whispered into Eliza's shirt. "I love you." Tears of pure joy streamed down Eliza's face. She hugged her daughter back, kissing the top of her head. "I love you too, Lily. Always." As the first star of the evening appeared in the twilight sky, the storm was finally over. The house of horrors had burned to the ground, and from its ashes, a small, beautiful family, built on truth and love, had risen. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning.